Welcome back to Real Estate Ramblings. I'm Amy Shrader with Remax Real Estate 10.
Michelle Hodges.
Ashley Hunt.
All right, ladies. So, how have y'all been faring the heat having to show property out in this stuff?
It's been toasty, very toasty.
I finally broke out the shorts. You know, I had never worn shorts to work before in my life, really. Of course, I've never been in a job where that was permitted. So,
Right.
I mean, for me, especially working in HR for years, I was the rule enforcer. So I'm like, no, I have to wear my, no, I finally had to break out the shorts, yeah. So.
Yeah, I've been in shorts. I guess since last Monday.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's hot and I'm fat and I don't do heat. I don't like to sweat. So.
Yeah, I'm not the dressy up person
No,
to show houses.
Don't misunderstand me. I was sweating anyway, but the shorts did make it a little more bearable.
Yeah, really.
Definitely.
So, when people ask you, is this typical for this time of year for it to be this hot? What do y'all tell them?
Yes. Yeah, we're in Tennessee.
Comes and goes.
It's humid in Tennessee. So yeah, we do get, I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, through June, July, and usually sometimes in May.
Well, normally I was thinking like July and August, I think are the 2 months that we think are the hottest, where you know it's going to be in the 90s and heat index over 100 and thunderstorms pop up just like you're at the beach.
Yeah.
But it seems like lately, more and more in June, that we're getting these heat waves that hit, kind of like we're getting those cold streaks back in January, where it doesn't get above freezing for several days.
Right.
Used to, that was, like an anomaly, and now it's just becoming like a regular thing, and I don't like it.
No, it is. I mean, I do think it's been this way for quite some time, though. I can remember, of course, I guess both my girls are summer babies. I got April 30th and May 30th, so we were always trying to work their birthdays in and trying to figure out what's going on the birthdays. And yeah, here's the thing with our springs. You might have a spring and you might have an early summer.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, it's kind of like fall. You might have a fall,
and you might
have a late summer or an early winter.
Right.
So I can remember it snowing on Halloween not that long ago. You know what I mean? We didn't get a lot of snow here, but like up in Sevier County, and it was gorgeous. I remember those pictures getting posted on Facebook of the red and the yellow and the orange leaves, and then the snow everywhere. And I was like, man, that is gorgeous.
Yes. I agree. But I do think we had a couple of extra months of spring, though, this time, because usually, sometimes by the end of March, it can get pretty warm, up in the 80s or what have you, because I can remember, years ago when I worked for KVAC going to the races, and I would always judge by, if it's chilly, I don't go to the race because the wind coming off the cars, no thanks. But there'll be times in March you go sit out there and
you get blistered because it's so hot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I do think, because we actually stayed pretty cool, I think, through May this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really complaining. I'm just thinking, it just seems like
a shift.
I know when I worked for Lisa at Clinch Mountain Realty, we did an auction the last weekend of June on a Saturday, and it was like an estate sale in Sirloinsville. Mm-hmm. And these people had bukus of stuff. And I mean, it turned into like an all-day sale. We were giving away free water because it was over 100 degrees, so you can imagine what the heat index was, you know what I'm saying? I had a fan blowing on me because I was registering people and taking money, but we had 2 people that passed out from heat exhaustion at that auction. And so for me, that's the one weekend, I think, here most recent, that I remember it being so hot already in June.
Yeah.
And then when Tammy had to have her bone marrow transplant up in Vanderbilt in Nashville, it was really hot in June because my memories post up on Facebook and show me, and I'm like, okay, so I think it's getting more common than we think.
Right. Well, the good news is we've still got July and August to go, Amy, so I know you're super excited
I'm
about
a lake
that.
baby, so I love summer.
No,
I know, we got to get with you and get on the lake.
Yes.
Venus wants to get out on a boat, so.
I like it too. I mean,
I've been showing houses on the boat.
Have you?
Yeah. A lot of lake houses I've been getting to go show. It's kind of an excuse, but.
Well, I think that, how do you think that affects the buyer? Do you think that's appealing to them if they're riding around on the lake
So I'm always questioned when I'm showing lake houses, like the depth of the water. How's your boat pull in here? I probably have a client right now that's wanting a property for a sailboat, and they're needing a certain depth. So it's kind of good to go and show the depth of the water, and I'll take my pontoon boat out and be able to show them, okay, this is the depth that we are right here versus here, and if the lake lets out, this is usually about where you would be, and if the dock is let out in your walkway. So that's kind of helped a lot, and to kind of get a different view, because when you come in off the lake, it's a lot prettier open view. So I think that's helped a lot.
Yeah, looking at something from the lake, or even getting to it from the lake versus driving into the property. So before they actually write the offer and go under contract, do you take them by car so they can kind of see
Yes.
that route as well?
So a lot of times they have, unless it's been like Cherokee or somewhere, a lot of times they have already, went by car, or we have shown it first by car and then just decided to take a boat ride and went over there. So it's been nice. Actually showed one over on Cherokee just recently by boat, but after they seen it by boat, they didn't like the waterway of it just because it's on a total different channel. So
yeah, and I can see that. That's why I asked, like, if you take some people, by boat to some of these properties initially, and they're like, oh yeah, this is everything we want, you write the offer, and then they go to it by car and they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Mainly because like people complain with Cherokee about the road getting in and out, mainly because it's a curvy, windy road going up the mountain. But then also a lot of people get upset by what they're passing on their way to some of these lake houses, because we're in East Tennessee, so a lot of times you're going to have single wides or, old farmhouses or campgrounds that you're passing to get in. So that's why I was curious as to whether or not you make them go by car before you write the offer.
Yeah, we go by car too. Do both.
Okay. So we are getting into the hot months of the summer here, like we've already started. But so what are your tips for showing lakefront homes during the summer? Like, what do you emphasize to a buyer that they need to be looking at?
I think, one of the things, and I do remind buyers that the lake does change, because they're seeing it at its peak if they're coming in the summer to look at that. So just to be real with them, I do let them know that, of course, after Labor Day, that water's going to start to go back down. It'll go down about, 30 feet or so. And your scenery may look a little bit different. The question is, do we still have water in this little, cove or this area or whatever? I mean, they're just different things for folks to know. And for some folks, it doesn't matter. They're like, well, that's okay. I only want to be on the water in the summer months anyway. And then other folks are like, I want year-round water. So, that's the biggest thing, just making sure that you kind of explain the differences, and because there is a seasonal difference in the way our lakes are going to lay.
Mine would be pay attention whether you really want a dock or you don't. A lot of people come in with this big old idea, I want a dock, but they only plan to be here a few months. Those docks have to be let in and out steady, depending on, our way our water comes up and down. And a lot of people don't realize just the labor that's going to come in with that. If you're not going to be here all the time, you're going to have to buddy up or hire somebody.
Yeah.
And I usually try to find like a Google Earth picture or something to show, hey, this is kind of what it looks like. You're going to see some dirt around the property and let your dock out quite a bit. So not everybody, once they've realized that, won't necessarily a dock. They may want to be near, somewhere that they can dock at a public place. So. Or private.
But on the other side of that, we're just talking about running your day. You also have to think about the areas that you're showing in, because some of your areas are going to be more rural than others. So, thinking about things like bringing water along, or, making sure that you use the bathroom when you can, because you will hit in certain areas where, none of that's as convenient as other areas. And so, I mean, for the most part, it's not a huge difference. And I guess if it's going to be hot, there's no better place to be than the lake, right?
True.
I usually try to be like, all right, we're not going to see a bathroom probably for the next hour, so if we need to stop, here's the local gas station. Let's run in real quick.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a great idea because a lot of people are like, oh, well, when we get to the next house, I'm going to use the bathroom. Well, A, if that house is not occupied, the water could be turned off.
Right.
B, just because you're looking at the house doesn't necessarily mean you have the right to use the restroom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a misnomer that a lot of buyers have is that, they're free to carte blanche do whatever they want while they're at that house, and that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
Especially lake houses now, they too turn the water off if they're not here year round a lot of times.
I mean, I've seen houses that weren't vacant, and when people leave, if they know they've got showings that day, they cut off the water. And they'll put notes up that says, please don't use the toilets, please don't, what have you. But, yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's not a huge deal. Most folks don't, care that much, and a lot of what you're showing, or if it is what you're showing is vacant, then, not a big deal. But nonetheless, you get back there showing some of those properties, it's just not handy sometimes. So don't wait till you gotta go.
You got to plan ahead.
Yes, if you feel it, you better go on.
And you were talking about some folks want year-round water, and I think that's another misconception that lakefront buyers have is that if they buy on the main channel, their water level doesn't fluctuate.
Okay, right. That's
you know
not
what I'm
true.
saying? But it
Mhm.
does.
It does.
And so, I have had buyers who ended up buying down on like Watts Bar Lake or somewhere in Knoxville because they truly do have that year-round water. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And I'm like, well, they pay a lot more in taxes for that. But if that's what they prefer and they can
Right.
afford to do that, then I kind of get where they're coming from. But
I'm not crazy about Watts Bar and those lakes up there. I mean, you're riding around on a lake and there's this big old steam plant just all the way around it. And I'm like, I think I'm going to head back a little bit north and,
different strokes for different folks.
I
you
know,
how
I get
that
it, I
goes.
get it. But that would be me as a buyer. Every time I think about those lakes, that lake over there, that's what comes to my mind because I've driven that for years, seen that sitting there, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's a gorgeous lake, but that's all that pops in my
Right.
head.
But it's the same token, like a lot of people for our lakes, the overhead power lines.
That too.
And
Absolutely.
we drive by it every day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, until I started selling real estate, I didn't even pay attention to overhead
Right.
power lines.
Right.
And the big power towers. If you were driving through the country, that was just part of it.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a give and take either way. It just depends on what you,
Pick your poison.
pick your poison, so to speak. So,
Right.
and I was driving down Slade Hill the other day, and they've got like little campgrounds everywhere over there. And there was this one camper who like had parked up under the power tower, and I'm like, and we have people that don't want to be like within so many miles of any kind of tower because of the radiation or something that comes off of it, and you just park underneath the power tower like, I'm good.
Yeah, just where we are.
That's where we gonna stay.
Yeah. We're hoping for a little bit of shade from the lines.
I don't know, I just found that very amusing. But
Yeah.
what kind of inspection issues do you all see pop up more with lake houses versus, a house in town?
Well, I mean, I think, I think you got to remember there's a lot of moisture around the lake. We talked about that, having the outside of the house pressure washed and doing those things because the moisture around the lakes will cause things to stick, cause growths to happen. I mean, that's just part of it.
Right.
So I do think you have to stay on top of those things. And I don't think that I really noticed anything more other than, we did have one where the property had some gorgeous landscaping down towards the lake, but you got to make sure those things are done properly, where that's at, because if it's not done properly, you're liable to have some shifting in that from time to time where water, comes up on that, and then you're going to see some shifting in that landscaping. So,
Well, and I think that's particularly important since September when Hurricane Helene came through.
absolutely, right.
Because, we may not have gotten the flooding, that a lot of places,
Right, absolutely.
but we got the wind, and,
and the moisture.
that wind totally can change the landscape of some
Right.
places. So I think that's a valid point to be made, is if you've got extensive landscaping down near the water, make sure it's
Right.
sturdy still,
Right.
basically.
I would say a lot of it would be ephes, stucco, better known, I guess, what we would call it is stucco, which is two different type of things. But I'm noticing that some of the houses I've been showing here lately, a lot of people did not realize that the moisture coming back off the lake and stuff can mess with those and extensive damages. So I had one to fall through for that, and then some drainage stuff, just you're getting some of the rain to kind of drain downhill a little bit, and it can cause certain areas that you can't build like a garage or something on. A lot of people don't realize. And then also debris washing up. A lot of people don't realize, the tree limbs and stuff, especially after our floods and stuff, that it can wash up on your shore. You're going to have to get that out.
Yeah, people that live in a cove or people that buy on a cove, I think, are surprised that, I don't know if they think that TVA or TWRA is going to come through and clean out that driftwood or whatever, but I mean, that shoreline's kind of your responsibility. You're the steward for it. So I know in Cherokee, there's 2 or 3 pretty good sized coves through there. And like every spring, they'll have a big driftwood burning, and they invite everybody to come over and bring their marshmallows. And
that's one of the cool things about Cherokee. I like how they kind of engage things and bring it into the community, and they have those community events once a month and do things like that. But I think that's a super cool way to kind of do that. So, okay, we're going to open up the season by pulling all of these things out, and everybody just enjoy the burning and move forward with celebrations. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you got to do something with it.
Right. Right.
So I know it's a struggle for people that own on a cove during lake season, because like stuff just kind of tends to drift, and them trying to keep their cove cleaned out so that they can get their boat in and out or whatever, be able to swim.
Well, just have it look nice, be able to enjoy it. That's the whole point in living around the lake, is being able to enjoy your view. And if you've got all that, if you've got all that work still stacked up in front of you, there's no relaxing. So it's like, we'll have to go clean that out to go have fun.
You're talking about some people for enjoying the view. Some people want to be on the lake because they want to be on the water all the time.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
Ashley here. She's a little waterlogger.
Yeah.
But, like my mom's terrified of boats and getting on the water, but she absolutely loves that view.
Right.
So I think you have 2 different types of people.
Definitely.
And the people who enjoy the view more than being on the lake are typically the people who are going to be good without the docks and, those types of things, because they know they're not going to use them. But
well, it's kind of like the Granger County side. A lot of people are sending me houses, and I'm like, it's not dockable. It's not dockable. A lot of people don't understand that. Certain parts of our lake are not dockable, and it's not all dockable. So getting them to understand, what can be dockable, what can't be.
Right. And I mean, at the end of the day, TVA decides all that. And it's not a surprise. I mean, TVA has the maps online that anybody can go to for any of the lakes, which shows, what areas are eligible for docks and which ones are not.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when I discovered that map, oh, Lord, I thought I was in heaven. Because, it was such a tedious process to try and research and find that. When I discovered they had maps, I'm like, well, my Lord, this just simplified my life,
Yeah.
But the reason, I don't think people understand the reasons that part of the lake is not dockable is because of, there might be a certain type of bird that is nesting in those woods, or, just land conservation itself. And some of them are for public launch areas. So we don't know the rhyme or the reason sometimes, but TVA determines, what we can dock and what we can't.
I think going back to one of the things that you were saying about what's the difference in showing in the summer and some of those things, and this is not really just summer, but I think, more people have free time in the summer. And so folks will pop up and, just like this past weekend, we had somebody who just out of the blue wanted to come in like that day and go look at lake properties. And I just talked to him and I just said, look, this is not really how we do things, okay? So we're kind of putting the cart before the horse when we're talking about this, because you're wanting to come in and look at some of these properties. I think that you have to understand what you're really looking for and what you're looking at and the nuances that go into, you know, whether you're looking in Hawkins County, whether you're looking in Granger County, whether you're looking in Hamblin, Jefferson County, all of those things, but have a little method to the madness and understand what it is that you're looking at before you come spend time to look at that. There may be an HOA that you just absolutely can't live with, but if you're just running on up here and looking at lots before you've ever researched any of that information, you're spinning your wheels. And everybody's along with you because, again, you're not going to know. I mean, that might be a pretty site, but then you get the HOA or, you know, restrictions or whatever, and you go, oh, no, I that's not something I can live with. So all of the time that you've just put into that and all the confusion that you've caused yourself, it has just, it's really taken away from the process. So I really think that one of the biggest things is if you're coming in to look at properties or you know that you might be interested, as soon as you know you're interested, call us. Let us have an opportunity to talk to you a little bit about what it's really like to be around the lake, about, you know, the differences again in, you know, if I buy a lot in Hawkins County versus, you know, Granger County, Hamlin County, Jefferson County, the differences and, you know, what some of those things are going to be, so that you know that when you get here, you're spending time looking at properties that really are of interest, not just might look pretty online. So I do think that's a big deal. I think just reach out in advance. Let us know where you're looking at. Let us start looking through those things and educate you as you go. Again, that way when you get here, we have a map. We know that we are looking at viable properties for you.
Right. And I think that's why people who are looking on the lake, they need to reach out to someone that is kind of a lakefront specialist versus the first realtor that answers the phone, if you will. Because I can guarantee you that had those people connected with a different agent this weekend, they would have hopped in the car willy-nilly, drove from hell to high water.
Absolutely.
And those people at the end of the day would have been like, I don't even know if we want to be on the lake at this point. You know what I'm saying?
What did we just do?
Yeah. So I think it's very important. I mean, we tell buyers, period, like you need to talk to us before we just go out and run look at houses. So we know what your goal is, where you want to be, what's important, yada, yada, yada. But I think that's even more so on the lake because there's some people who are just very adamant. They don't want to be on a septic. They don't want to be on a well. Okay, well, we've just eliminated a ton of lake properties.
Right, absolutely.
You know, you're going to be very limited in what we can look at now. And then you have some people who are like, I don't want an HOA. Again, you have severely limited your search. If that's what you want, that's fine.
We'll continue to look for you.
But you know, there's a lot of things that are not going to fit into that. So
absolutely. And so after, you know, I called her and we talked about things and I said, well, let me explain how we typically would do things and why we would do things this way. And so I went through it. She was like, well, we just had to, you know, well, that makes sense. And so, you know, I sent her all my information. I was like, you know, if you send me the things that you've already identified, then I can go in and start researching those things. And I can send you the information that you need to see if by the time you get here, you still want to see that.
Right.
You know, and you know, whether it's going to cost you another $30,000 for well and septic or, you know, what I'm saying, all of those things that wrap into that. So she was good with that. And then by the end of the weekend, I was receiving all these texts about properties, but at least now she has some method to her madness. And you know, they might come in the first time and decide it's not for them, or they might start looking at all those things. But they are exactly what you just said. They're going to eliminate a ton of stuff right off the bat, and they're not going to spin their wheels or fill their mind full of stuff that was just useless to them.
Right. All right, so we've got the 4th of July coming up this weekend. What kind of big plans do y'all have?
I didn't realize it was 4th of July weekend. I've been slack. Thanks for reminding me.
I'm excited about it. Well, my best friend Tioka, she and I are going to put on a shindig at her house just with the kids and, you know, our folks over there. So you and Venus are welcome to come on over there. But yeah, we're just gonna again, nothing big. just our people, and just decided to enjoy each other, and we'll let the kids be in charge of fireworks. We took care of the food. So
I guess
when I say kids, though, our kids are 19 to 25. So it's not like we're cutting a bunch of 7-year-olds loose with fireworks all over the place. But we'll make them responsible for whatever show we have. But, just setting up that family time and enjoying each other,
Right.
I think, is the big thing for us.
I guess I'm going to buy fireworks. Thanks, guys.
Oh, you got kids.
I have been busy. I just really have lost the dates. I mean, I just have. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, normally on the 4th of July, Mom and Dad and my sister will come to my house. We'll grill out like burgers and hot dogs, and then, just kind of hang out, socialize until the Cherokee Park fireworks
Right.
start, because I can sit on my front porch and we have the perfect view,
Yeah.
and we don't have to get in the mess of traffic and stuff.
Right.
And then like Cook's Boathouse right there off 25E, they do fireworks. We can see theirs as
Right.
well.
Right.
Now with Mom's health conditions this year, I don't know that they're going to be up for that.
Right.
But if they just want to come over and eat supper and then, we can get them home, then that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Venus is not big on fireworks because she doesn't like the loud noises. Like a big truck can go by us on the highway and she's like, a loud truck, blah, 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 blah. So last year we put her tablet in front of her and put her some little headphones on so that it kind of drowned out the noise. And she likes to see them. She just doesn't like to hear them. So...
And I'm glad you brought that. Actually, of course, I don't have a Venus, but I do have a lady, and I love my sweet lady, my Pitty, but she is so gun shy. If she hears those things, so I've got one dog that needs Prozac when those things go off, and then one dog who has FOMO. He's all over. He don't care. He just wants to go see what is happening. Cooper on that side of things. So if anybody's got any hints about how I can save ladies' nerves through the 4th of July, by all means, let us
You
know.
need to talk to Denise that did your grooming for you over at Uptown Hound, because I think they sell, it's like a hemp-based product.
Oh,
It's
I
like
need to do
THC
that.
for
Okay.
dogs.
Yeah.
To help mellow them out so that they
Yeah.
don't freak out. So call Denise and talk to her.
She's such a sweet baby, but if she hears booms, guns, and of course we live in the county, so from time to time you hear guns in the county. Anything, she just goes and hides. So I worry about her a little bit coming into the 4th, just having, because we do live close to Cherokee Park as well. So we're going to have it, and we've already had people shooting them off everywhere, and I'm like, oh Lord, I need to get one of them an nerve pill and just sit one of them in the backyard and let him look for hours.
Yeah.
Well, I hear you. I mean, we don't really live that far apart, probably 10 minutes tops,
If even.
but we've already started hearing them in my neighborhood, and Venus will be
Yes.
like, what was that? And I'm like, somebody shooting fireworks off early, and she's like,
I get it, Venus, I get it.
and my thing is like, it's not even the week of the 4th yet, so,
Right.
and then once the Cherokee Park fireworks get done, it's like then the neighborhood starts theirs, and it'll be midnight before it quits, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's just like, please people,
Yeah.
just stop.
I get it. I
I
get
just want
it.
to go to bed. I'm an old fogey.
I'm glad you mentioned that, though. I'm going to go up and talk to her and see about getting something for Lady.
Yeah, I would definitely talk to her because I know she's mentioned that before.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I will.
she can tell you what to get. She
I will.
has like a little farm.
Yeah.
She has a pig and she has chickens and she's got dogs and cats and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they love Lady when I take her up there to get her groomed. They're like, she's so sweet. I'm like, she really is.
I don't think Denise has ever met a dog she didn't like.
I hear what you're saying.
I mean,
hear what
I'm
you're saying.
just serious. I think at one time she had like 7 dogs or something in her house, and I was like, oh my God, that would.
Right.
Yeah. It's just chaos, and I don't deal with chaos very
But
well.
for her, that's just joy.
Oh yeah, I mean that's her life. So she has done very well with Uptown Hound.
Yes.
So, all right, ladies. Well, you figure out what you're going to do for the 4th.
Yeah, I've got to get on that.
Quit working on that house all the time and
Gosh.
buy some fireworks and throw something on the grill.
I will. We'll be at the lake, I'm sure. We usually ride the boat and watch the fireworks from the water every year, and then we shoot some off ourselves. So
All right, good deal. All right. Thank you. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Bye. Happy 4th.